having me speak today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story and what is one of my passions in life. This is my son, Jack Kingston. He was born in 1998, and when he was just an hour old, the nurse discovered an irregular heartbeat. And an ultrasound was done, and he had tumors in his heart. Now, the cardiologist came and said, well, it might be something called tuberous sclerosis complex, but don't worry, we'll just find out. A month later, he had an MRI of his brain, and the tumors were also in his brain, which confirmed the diagnosis of tuberous sclerosis complex. His dad went online immediately and found the Tuberous Sclerosis Alliance. What I love about this alliance is that it began in 1974 with 4 mothers. One of the mothers, Susan, is still very active in the alliance, although her daughter has since passed away. She sent a letter to Exceptional Parent magazine looking for more parents. She found these mothers, and they founded this amazing alliance that 44 years later has made tremendous strides and progress that improves the lives of those affected. So what tuberous sclerosis complex is, it's a genetic disease where cellular growth is not well controlled, so tumors form throughout the body. It can be in the lungs, the heart, the brain, on the skin. In 85% of folks, it can cause epilepsy, and in about half of people with TSC, it can cause autism. It can also cause intellectual disability. My son does have all of those manifestations. Now, there's about 1 million people worldwide with TSC, and everybody experiences TSC differently. Even identical twins can have different severities of this disorder. There's about 50,000 in the US, and about 1 in 6,000 births. And this is Jack now. He's 20 years old. He's a wonderful, beautiful, amazing person. He did go to a group home when he was 16 because he wound up with some aggressions that were just too difficult to deal with. He's safe there. He's well cared for. We're very grateful that we were able to do this, although there was a lot of grief involved, as you can imagine, when your kid moves away sooner than you would like. One of the things that we did when Jack was little, in 2001, we went to our first family conference. It was in San Diego. And there I learned so much about TSC. There were families there. There were doctors, researchers. There were people who told us about special needs trusts, something that I had no idea. When you have someone with special needs, you might want to get a trust to protect their government benefits in the event that they need them. So all kinds of information was at this conference. At this conference, scientists had recently discovered the biological pathway that's disrupted when the TSC1 and TSC genes, one or the other, don't work properly or have trouble. And at the time, they were trying to figure out what could they do with this information to develop medicines or therapies that would prevent some of the things from happening, that would prevent the tumors, say prevent the seizures. It was a very exciting time. Well, then in 2014, the TS Alliance hosted the first World Conference. So we're now, the whole world is involved, and it's just phenomenal. Canada was there, Israel was there, it was, of course, Europe was there. It was amazing. They talked about some of the accomplishments that had been done thus far. Now this is, I've had permission to show this person's brain from his mother. This shows some of the brain tumors. His brain tumors were so numerable that they were partially blocking the cerebral spinal fluid. He could not be physically operated on. He went into one of the first clinical trials for one of the drugs that they suspected would reduce these tumors. This is 2008, 2013, the tumors have reduced. This drug saved this boy's life. It's so exciting that this is happening. Now, the other thing is they also have a topical cream. These are called angiofibromas. They often come with TSC. And Jack was in a clinical study at UCLA. Now you can see that they're much better. They also are not growing, because if he'd had no treatment, these would be much larger. Yes, so it may seem like it's only cosmetic, but actually these things bleed. They can. When Jack was younger, a few times when he would be sick or have a cold, he would rub so much that they would break and bleed. One time we even went to the emergency room because these things bled and we could not stop them. Oddly enough, the emergency room also couldn't stop them because even though they had special blood clotting band-aids, he wouldn't leave them on long enough. So I called his autism tutors, thank heavens for ABA, Applied Behavioral Analysis programs. They came over, even though they were scheduled to work, they worked with him so that after 30 seconds of keeping a regular band-aid on his nose, he would get a reward. They kept upping the time and upping the reward until finally this bleeding stopped. So thank heavens for people who work in autism and help our children. All right. Now, tuberous sclerosis complex, because it's the entire body, the research helps with many other maladies, including cancer. Let me grab that back. Now, with cancer, in about 50% of cancers, what's going wrong with the TSC pathway is similar to what's going wrong in the cancer. So there's a lot of research in TSC that is benefiting cancers. Now, the Second World Conference was just July in Dallas, Texas, and once again I went. More countries were there. Mexico was there. Several other countries were there. And I met Julian Sampson. He is the person who discovered the TSC1 and TSC2, the problems with those genes back in 93 and 97, and my son was born in 98. So not long after the TSC gene, the TSC1 was discovered. It was just exciting that he is so involved in TSC. Now this is a parent. Rob and Lisa Moss had 2 kids, a daughter and a son. Their son Evan had tuberous sclerosis. His seizures were so numerable that Rob invented a seizure tracker. It has since been used by many people and has enough data. This is types of seizures, this is types of medications used by TSC folks, that now it can be used in a seizure diary consortium. So this data can be used to find out more for our folks with TSC and people with seizures who don't have TSC. The other study that's happening is some infants are being studied to see how autism may develop. This can help if they see some autism develop. They can get the ABA program, the things that help people with autism have a less severe, learn to deal with their behaviors or whatever's going on, speech. Felicia would know about all of this stuff. So this is important, as we know, for early intervention when autism is suspected. So they're doing studies on autism now. Huge is preventing epilepsy with TSC, and they've got some clinical trials going on right now where basically they'll do an I'm not sure what it's called, EEG, you know, where they look at the brain waves. There you go. They're checking in infants the brain waves. If there's a brain wave that doesn't look right, that looks abnormal, even if a seizure hasn't developed, they can treat that child and prevent the seizure from happening or have them be less than they would be otherwise. And what they found is that these seizures affect intellectual intelligence. If they reduce the seizures, they can reduce the likelihood of the intellectual disability, which is huge. Now they're also studying cannabidiol. A lot of folks have been using CBD oil for seizures. Now they have a clinical trial with this Epidiolex, which is consistent in its dosage and is purified. So it's very measurable. And in a couple of diseases where kids have seizures, it has been approved just recently. They're studying it now for TSC. I'm hoping my son might be able to go on this at some point in the future because it's also had some cognitive gain as a result. This is Dr. Wu. My son saw her at UCLA. I love what she says here because it's so true. Prevent epilepsy and all the related problems that come with epilepsy, autism, and intellectual disability. That is the Holy Grail. And that's what a lot of our researchers are doing. We are literally helping kids with their quality of life since they're infants. Now, I want to talk about a dedicated grandfather. Will Cooper is the grandfather of these 2 identical twins. In 2001, he was able to get $1 million appropriated through the Department of Defense for medical research into TSC. Since he did that, and this is the program right here, tuberous sclerosis complex research program, every year advocates from different states who are involved with TSC go and talk to our senators and representatives to show them just how much progress we've made with this medical research funding through this program. I've done that a few times, and I thank Toastmasters for allowing me to be able to do this without too much fear. And there's different funding sources, the National Institute of Health, the TSCRP, and the TS Alliance itself raises funds to do research and various family support. Now, this is the Department of Defense funding. The Institute of Health has more funding, but the Department of Defense funding is critical because if somebody has a good idea, but not a lot of data to support it, they could get a grant, get the data if it's successful, which can then go to the National Institute of Health. So it's these three funding sources work together. This is Billy and Tara. Billy was discovered when she was pregnant, when Tara was pregnant. They had the heart rhabdomyomas. So she got him treated right away at a TSC clinic. And he's been in the seizure study, and he has a much better chance at developing normally. And that's because of what the TS Alliance has done, all the researchers and the families, the community. This is him, our youngest TSC advocate on the Hill just last year, shaking Ruben Kuhen's, I can't say his name, Kuhen's hand, and that's his mom, Tara. She is my co-chair in Reno. Of the expenses that the TS Alliance has, about 28% of that revenue comes from fundraising, and about 51% goes to research. And that's where I come in. We've done this walkathon. This will be the third year in a row. Step Forward to Cure TSC. This year it's at Craig Ranch Park again. And it was a really fun event. I'm going to show you a bunch of pictures and how fun it was. And look at this, is my son singing. There's his dad. A bunch of really cute kids. A bunch of people supporting our cause. There's many ways to help. We always need teams to come and enjoy the day, people to help us plan, people to help us reach out to media, lots of ways that a person can help. Teams are essential for a fun event. The more teams, the more people, the more fun, the more money. Volunteers are essential and always so appreciated. The Faith Lutheran High School students were there last year. That's my nephew right there. Sunrise Mountain High School cadets have supported our event, and they're amazing. I just love these kids. They are dedicated. They are just phenomenal. I love that they come out and support us. A friend of mine volunteers for Metro, so they got some Metro volunteers out. They ran a registration table. And a couple engineering firms came and helped us out with some sponsor signs and some photography. Civitan Lovely Ladies is another volunteer group that does volunteering. They specialize in developmental disability type. That's kind of their focus. They were there supporting our event. Doris Fong leads Tai Chi. So it was really funny because one of the Tai Chi moves was this. It was just really hilarious. And it woke us all up.
To do that.
It was fun. And the Lone Wolf dancers who do line dance lessons, they did a flash mob and they got us all dancing. It was really quite fun. Now I love painting, so I brought some painting and we're going to have that again. Sports social. Andrew is the founder. He used to teach my son Jack. This program teaches sports, arts, music, social skills to people with developmental disabilities. And it's just a phenomenal, amazing program. They'll be there with their scooters again this year. I'm completely grateful. Families for Effective Autism Treatment will have their carnival games for us again. Very grateful. And that's my brother. And we had karaoke. It was so successful. People would have stayed all day if they could have. It was just, yes, I know, right? It was fabulous. We had such a great time. We're really hoping that we could have the Corral Brothers back. It was so much fun. And Jack saying, "Stand by me." Food sponsors, essential. Einstein Bagels, 3 Square, and Trader Joe's. Yeah, we so appreciate their help. So, we all want to cure TSC. And here's my favorite, this is some ways that you can help. But this is my favorite quote. Families for Effective Autism Treatment uses this quote. "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has," by Margaret Mead. So let's step forward, and thank you.
That's right.